What a great honor it is to be at the kever of the Baal Tosfos Yom Tov, Rabbi Yom Tov Lipman Heller, or as we see on the kever, his full name was Rabbi Gershon Shaul Yom Tov Lipman Heller, who was born in Bavaria, Germany in 1579 and was nifter in Tov Tzadikei here in Krakow on the 6th day of Elul in 1654, and soon is his yahrzeit. So just to read a little bit from the kever, it says, Poinignaz v'nitman hagan agada muflag b'doira. Here is buried the great Gaon, Rav Gershon Shaul Yom Tov Lipman Heller. Asher tzalal b'mayim adirim, he was able to delve into the great waters and float upon the great waters. And v'chiber kama svarim, he wrote many, many works. So here a few of them are mentioned. Asher nekuvim b'shmoisam, that are well known. Sefer Tzuras Habayis. Sefer Tzuras Habayis is a description of the dimensions of the third Beis Hamikdash as outlined by the Navi Yechezkel. And of course, his most well-known commentary was the Shishe Sidrei Mishnah, the commentary on the Shishe Sidrei Mishnah, Tosfos Yom Tov, which was one of the classic commentaries on the Shishe Sidrei Mishnah. He wrote Madane Melech and Lechem Chamudos on the Ashiri. That means he wrote the commentaries Madane Melech and Lechem Chamudos on the Rosh. Since then, the Madani Melech is sometimes referred to, some of his commentaries on the Rosh is referred to as the Pelpula Charifta. So these are the classic commentaries that appear in every edition of Shas. He also wrote the Toras Ha'asham on the Toras Hachatos. We mentioned the Ramah wrote the Toras Hachatos. He wrote the Toras Ha'asham as a commentary on the Toras Hachatos. He was a Marbitz Torah of many Kehilos in Wien, in Vienna, and in Prague. And then at the end of his life, he had a yeshiva here in Poland. Just want to mention that the Tosfos Yom Tov had quite a difficult rabbinic career. So, just historically, it's important to know that there was a 30-year war in Bohemia, in the Prague area, and it really hurt the government. And because of that, the government imposed heavy fines on the Jewish citizens. They had to come up with an annual tax of 40,000 thalers, which was an exorbitant sum. And Rabbi Yom Tov Lipman Heller had the unfortunate responsibility to figure out how the Jewish community is going to pay this sum, and he decided how to allocate it. And as you could well imagine, he had obtained many enemies because of the way he decided to allocate it. In fact, they even they spoke about him. They slandered him to the emperor. They said that his work contains critiques and challenges to Christianity and mocks Christianity, and therefore he was arrested on the 5th day of Tammuz. And Rabbi Yom Tov Lipman Heller set out to Vienna, and for all time he made the 5th day of Tammuz a fast day for his descendants. He was imprisoned in Vienna, and he was actually sentenced to death. However, through an intervention of certain Jewish dignitaries, he was able to commute the sentence by paying a fine. But from there he had to leave. He was released after being confined for 40 days. He was released on Erev Yom Kippur, and he, just from the experience, was bedridden for 3 months because of that experience. He became a Rav after Vienna. He went to Lublin, and then again, he was slandered, and he was near-deaf. They ran after him. So the Tosfos Yom Tov had quite a difficult rabbinic career. I just want to mention that during the Kazakh uprising of 1648-1649, the Tosfos Yom Tov composed a number of memorial prayers for those who perished in the massacre. And he also composed the very famous tefillah of the Misha Berach, Avasen Avram Yitzchak V'Yaakov, who Yivarech es kol Misha Shomer Pivel L'Shaynai Shalei L'Daber B'Shas HaTfilah. That was the famous prayer of the Tosfos Yom Tov. But Tosfos Yom Tov sort of asked via the heavens why the tragedies of 1648, 1649 were happening, and what he was told was because we do not show the proper reverence during our tefillah, and people have conversations during the time of tefillah, and that was the cause of all the terrible disasters and catastrophes of 1648 and 1649. If I may, just to add some of the other svarim that the Tosfos Yom Tov wrote, he wrote something called Megillas Eva, an autobiography about his difficulties. He wrote on Rabbi Yedaya Hapaninis Bechinas Olam. He wrote a commentary on that. He wrote Tuv Tam, which is a commentary on the Kabbalistic material of Rabbeinu Bechaye. He wrote Seder Shemos Gittin. He wrote a grammatical treatise called Darche Hayra. He wrote something called Parshas HaChodesh, a commentary on Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh, and many other responsa which are mostly unpublished. He also popularized the Archos Chaim of the Rosh. The Archos Chaim of the Rosh is a Musar Sefer. He broke it down into 7 parts. This way, it'd be able to be finished weekly when he was a Rav in Vienna, in his Vienna congregation. He also translated it into Yiddish. And it was actually when he was a Rav in Vienna that he composed that Misha Berach that the Rebbeinu should watch over, Misha Ena Shazahir Shalala Daber B'Shas Hatfila. Well, according to the testimony of Reb Zelig Margolius, Reb Yom Tov Lipman Heller died penniless, without even money to buy his own burial shrouds. Let me just share with you one classic comment of the Tose Yom Tov in Masechta Brachos, which is really a very fundamental idea. Tosfos Yom Tov wants to know, why is it that when we bench b'mezumin, we say Baruch Elokeinu, we invoke Hashem's name as Midas Hadin, and when we make a blessing on the Torah, we say Baruch Hu es Hashem HaMavayrach, we use the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Why when we say Baruch Hu on the Torah is it Midas HaRachamim, and when we say, when we thank Hashem for food, it's Midas Hadin? So he says very simply, that God created us. He can't leave us without food. He's, so to speak, responsible to feed us. So it's Midas Hadin that offers us sustenance. Therefore, when we acknowledge Hashem in our food, we say Baruch Elokeinu. But the Torah is a special gift for the Jewish people. Mankind could exist without Torah. All of humanity exists, but Torah is a special benefit and kindness that were given to the Jewish people, and therefore in reference to the Torah we say Baruch Hu es Hashem HaMevarach. May the zechus of the Tosfos Yom Tov and all of his chiburim and all of his efforts on behalf of Klal Yisrael be oimed for all of us for all eternity.